Hi, my name is Miranda Bogan. I'm the Director of Communications at Masa, Israel, and I'm here with Perrin Bernard, an Israel Teaching Fellow in Ramle Lod, and we're going to hear a little bit about her teaching experience so far. So, Perrin, can you tell me a little bit about yourself and how you heard about Israel Teaching Fellows and why you decided to go?
Sure. So I'm Perrin. I'm from New Jersey, and I just graduated last year from college, and I was looking to teach abroad somewhere in the world. I didn't really know where. And then I was also thinking about doing birthright, and I figured why not combine the two and make it a longer experience so I could really kind of get to know the culture and whatnot. So I decided to come to Israel and teach, and I kind of just Googled teaching in Israel, and Masa came up, and Israel Teaching Fellows came up. And so then I had the task of kind of going through and figuring out which city I wanted to go to. And I actually at first had looked at Ashdod, which is on the water and very beautiful. But after talking to one of the people who works with Oranim or Israel Way, I was kind of convinced to go to Ramle because it's a microcosm kind of Israel. It's very different, and you'll get a very different experience than going to any other city. So in Ramle, you have a very diverse population, which you also get in a lot of other cities, but what's unique is it's not just Russians or it's not just Ethiopians. It's kind of everyone in one area. So I actually work in Lod. It's Ramle Lod. And I work with Arab kids, Jewish kids, Christian kids. I work with Ethiopian kids, Russian kids, Moroccan kids. It's kind of all over the map. And it's a really unique experience that you don't necessarily get by working with just one group of people. Ramle isn't the nicest of cities. It's kind of a lower socioeconomic status, but with that said, where I live, it's very charming. You can either live in a house or an apartment. It kind of depends on where they place you. But I currently live in a house with 7 other people. I make it 8. And I have a roommate. Some people have singles. So it's kind of just the luck of the draw with that. Our house is pretty nice and big. You do have room, but you learn a lot when it comes to living with 7 other people. So when we first got to Israel, it was actually the high holidays, so we had a lot of time off at the beginning of the year, so we had some training and whatnot, which was nice, and then we kind of got to know the city before actually jumping into teaching because we had some time off, so we traveled a little. We got to know Ramle a little by going to the shuk and seeing what restaurants were open and whatnot, and kind of got to know the neighborhood a little bit better. And then as we started to get acclimated to our schools, we also had other volunteer opportunities. So I teach in Lod, but I do a lot of my volunteering in Ramle, and I work with young adults teaching an advanced English group, but we have different levels. I work with Ethiopian kids at the Ethiopian Center in Ramle, and I also work with high schoolers who are studying for their exit exams. So there are a lot of different opportunities around the city, which is nice because it gives you a feel of all the different people who live here and all the different needs that they have. So I hope I'm helping in some way. I think I am. People tell me they enjoy it, and I know myself and the other volunteers like to do it. I know later tonight there's a big Bagrut coffee chat thing for a lot of high schoolers who are studying right before their exam. So it's fun, and it's a good way to get to know the community you live in.
Cool. So. Can you tell me a little bit about your school in Ramle and what ages of students you work with and what your relationship is like with the other teachers?
Sure. So there are 12 of us in the group, and I think 4 of them work in Ramle, and the rest of us actually work in Lod. And so I work at Sapir School in Lod, and I work with grades 2nd to 8th, so I have a range of students, but that's not always the case. I think more people work with younger students. But I work with a wide range of kids, from kids who don't really speak any English at all, and I'm working on the alphabet with them, to kids in the 7th and 8th grade who are really, their English is very impressive, and we get to play fun games, write stories, be creative. A lot of the time the work is from the workbook, but you can take creative liberty and do what you want with the workbook. You can also go outside that and have more fun with them. So like today, I played a game with them called Categories, which they loved. So you do have some flexibility. We have 3 English teachers at my school, and there are 2 of us, 2 teaching fellows who work there. So it's nice because you're not always with the same teacher. You get to learn different teaching styles and different techniques based on who you're with. And then it also gives you a variety of students. So one teacher works with the lower kids, one class, and the next class they work with the higher level kids. And so sometimes we're with the lower level and sometimes we're with the higher. So we get a nice mix of students. And usually, depending on the class, we get the same students multiple times, so you really get to form a relationship and get to bond with them, see what they need, what best works for them, what doesn't work. It's a trial and error sometimes, but you get to form a nice connection, which is helpful with teaching and just having kids be open with you.
Cool. So can you tell me a little bit more about Ramle Lode and some of the things you discovered while you lived there, whether it's kind of how to get around or a favorite place you like to go, or something unique about the city?
Yeah. So as I said before, Ramle Lode is it's not on the beach. It's not there. There are a few nice neighborhoods, but it's not also the nicest at times. So we do have a great shuk, though, where you can buy groceries and produce at a relatively low cost, which is awesome. And there's a lot of different food that I've never seen, heard of, but I've tasted and I love. A lot of different spices everywhere. The market is awesome. So that's really cool. It's like known throughout Israel that Ramle has a great shuk. But there's not really nightlife here. We don't have a bar or anything in town, so as far as going out and whatnot, you kind of have to go to other cities, but it's nice because it makes you explore other areas. So you can go to Tel Aviv, is a 20-minute Sheirut ride away. Jerusalem is only like a 45-minute bus ride, and then you have cities close by like Rishon and Rehovot, which are also really fun cities to do things in, to go to the mall and whatnot. And so it makes you explore other places, yet you still feel like you're home when you are here. We have an amazing Indian restaurant, and then we also have one of the best hummus places in Israel. I think one of the first or second questions I always get asked is, have you been to Halil's? Because everyone in Israel knows about it. It has great hummus. So there are some things to do, but it is relatively easy to get out of Ramle as well and kind of explore Israel on whole.
Cool. For people who are considering choosing Ramle as their city for Israel Teaching Fellows, what would you say? Both, like, are there characteristics that have made some of the teaching fellows more successful or enjoy it more, and also, like, what do you think is the key reason to choose Ramle as your ITF city?
Yeah, so I think one of the key reasons is, I think in every city in Israel and around the world, there are kids who need help, and there are kids who are struggling, but really in Ramle, every kid has a story. That's not always the easiest story to hear, but they're always open to learning, and they always want to learn with you, and they're very appreciative of it. 5 months in, our kids are still like, can we please work with you? Can we please work with you? And I know you'll hear that from other cities too, but I don't know. Ramle and Lode are communities that like really struggle and really need it. So I personally, that's one of the reasons why I chose to come here, because I thought it would make the best use of my time and the biggest impact that I could make. And what was the other part of your question? Sorry.
What do you think is something that would make a teaching fellow successful in Ramle?
Yeah, I would say just being willing to try as much as you can. So there are a ton of different clubs. There's the English Center, there's reading stories to little kids, there's teaching young adults, just kind of really wanting to volunteer and trying your best to get involved in the community. And it might not always work out. If you go to one club and it's not really for you, that's okay. There are a ton of other options. So really just trying to not being afraid to go out into the community, because I mean, I don't speak any Hebrew. We take Olpan and my Hebrew is very low, but still having that feeling that it's okay to try it. Somehow you'll learn to communicate, and not being afraid to put yourself out there, I would say. It's not the easiest community. It's not always rainbows and sunshine, but it's a great place to live because you're making a really big impact on the neighborhood.
Great. Well, it sounds like Ramle and Lode are a really unique community. They really need help from future fellows. So thank you so much for taking a few minutes to talk about your experience, and good luck with the rest of your year.
Thank you. Come to Ramle.